It's a really good question, and I think, like many others, I'm very split on it. I read Johnny Nelson's column this morning as he'd like to see Kell retire, and of course he knows him better than most. Dave Cobble, who was sitting next to me on ringside on Saturday night, has known him forever. I mean, I have actually. We've all known him since he was a kid, so in many ways it's a sort of protective thing with some of the fighters. And when you've known someone for 25 years, you want to make sure they live a lovely, happy life at the end of their career, because they owe us nothing. It would be a perfect time to go for Kell Brook to hang up the gloves and join sort of Lennox Lewis, Joe Calzaghe, Carl Froch, and others who sort of made that decision at the right time, or certainly a time that they thought it couldn't get any better. It couldn't get any better for Froch when he laid out George at Wembley, and now they're doing sort of chat shows together. Yeah, exactly. But let's not forget, Carl wanted to fight again. He wanted to fight Chavez Jr. He stood up at ringside when Kell fought Golovkin and eyeballed Golovkin. I told him to sit down and shut up. He was this side of the ropes now. So it doesn't leave a fighter, as we've seen with Ricky Hassan coming back and others. They just want that one more fight. So it's a really difficult choice. I spoke to Joe before he fought Roy Jones, and he was indicating to me then that would be his last fight. And I think with the early knockdown and the fact he won it but got through it and realized he probably wasn't quite what he was at his peak, and he was slipping slightly, I think that was brilliant. Same with Lennox. He had that really hard fight with Klitschko. Yeah, and Charlie came in at short notice, remember, but it was a really hard fight. Yeah. Exactly, and everybody was split about whether Lennox would go on to win it or whether Vitali would. But it sort of felt the right time. It's really interesting with Kell. I sat at the post-fight presser and I looked at him, and he didn't have a mark on him. He was fresh. He looked fantastic. He'd rolled back the years in many ways after an incredible camp. Can he get himself that up for something else? I mean, there's been bad blood with him and Chris Eubank Jr. That's an obvious possibility. He could fight Eubank Jr. at some sort of catch weight. Conor Benn's lurking around the scenes as well. He's in that mix. There's all the talk of Ben Eubank, or would Conor have fought Amir if he'd won? So there's lots of possibilities, domestically for him, and also there's still the opportunity possibly of winning another world title. With the performance on Saturday night against a Khan, okay, of course had slipped, but it was still what Kell did was pretty spot on. So it's a tough decision for him. I think it's one that he needs to think about. I think it's one that he shouldn't rush. I think he just needs to go back and spend some time with his family. He's had Christmas away and New Year away. He's left no stone unturned with this. It was burning inside him. And I don't think he could possibly get any more into a fight than the one with Amir Khan. So there's part of me, it's almost like, I remember Nigel Benn saying to me once, you might remember this as well, Danny, I've got the angel on one side and the devil on the other. The angel's saying to me one thing and the devil's the other. I think that's a bit like Kell's choice now. But who is the angel and who's the devil? Is it angelic to go out now on top, where you've proved yourself? As he said, he can sleep peacefully at night. He knows he's beaten his arch rival. But then he's got 3 daughters. He's a prize fighter. He's looked very good. Maybe he can have 2 or 3 other big nights and big paydays for his family's future when he's boxing as well as he is. So I don't know who the devil is really, because he looked so good on Saturday. And I think that he just needs to take a bit of time, talk to the people closest to him. And I think he'll probably fight again. That's my sort of gut feeling. But I can understand the people that are saying, let's go now. Both go now. It's done. It's finished. And they can both have really lovely lives ahead. But fighters are strange creatures, as we know. They love the limelight. They love the challenge. It's their business. It's what they do. And I think when they're retired, they know there's a great deal of life ahead of them. So they want to make sure that they do it at the right time. And I think, as Amir said, he didn't want boxing to retire. I mean, he wanted to retire from boxing. So I think that might well be his call now. Whereas with Kell, I'm not so sure. I'm not sure he's ready yet. But in a perfect world, going to the sunset now. But then again, a couple of years after Carl Froch beat George Groves, weren't we all hoping he'd fight Golovkin or Chavez? Or we're the fans. We want that, but we also want the health and safety of the fighters. And I think Amir realised that on Saturday night. He can't keep taking this sort of punishment, and to live the nice future he's got and enjoy the money he's made, and obviously do a lot of other great things in his life. And I think he went out. Remember Chris Eubank at the end of his career when he was losing, but going out in a fantastic way and just pleasing the fans. I mean, Amir was just, I mean, you cannot criticise for him one moment for Saturday night. He stuck with it beyond the call of duty. And, that's in many ways a good way to go out. For Kell, not so sure he will, but I can see the tough decision there.